Hi, my name is Chris Montgomery, and I'd like to welcome you to this week's episode of TNTV. Today I have with me Marc Arbesman, who is our CIO, as well as a partner here at ThrottleNet. And Marc is in town from our office in Boston, so we don't get to see too much of him. But while he's here, we always like to explore subjects that are relative to development, software solutions, and some of the other services that we offer here at ThrottleNet. So our discussion today is going to revolve around SharePoint. SharePoint, as a lot of people are familiar with that are out there, is really a variety of things to a variety of people, and that is, to a degree, how it was designed.
Microsoft's product, SharePoint, is a server set of web-enabled technologies.
Okay.
It is a web portal. It is a framework and a platform that allows companies to collaborate with each member of their team by division, by individual members. But in a nutshell, it is document libraries, it is shared calendars, it is form customization. It's a collaborative platform for team organization and team communication.
Okay.
One of its strengths, and in one of its components, it's its document library. It has built-in versioning, so that you know when you are building a document, you check it into SharePoint, it stamps it as you've modified it, the time and date you've modified it, and you can build approval processes around that. So if that needs to be reviewed by somebody that before it goes live to the rest of the organization, SharePoint will allow you to do that. I think if you're a small business, you really need to understand what SharePoint can offer you and center your strategy around its strengths. I've seen companies, small companies, see SharePoint, it's a web application, we're going to make our website, our public customer-facing website out of SharePoint. That's really not what it was designed for. And it's actually a lot less flexible than other systems out there if you want as a content management system. It's not, I don't believe its strength is as a content management system.
Okay. So you feel more in line with workflow and those types of processes, really,
yes.
and document management to a degree, as you had outlined.
Yes, and for a small business, if you have a sales rep that needs to develop a proposal and wants that proposal approved by his manager or their manager, you can put that into SharePoint, create a workflow around that, keep it very simple, and you can send alerts to that person's manager, and they will they can follow the approval process that you've already set up in SharePoint. And those types of scenarios work very well for small to medium-sized businesses.
Cost is always a concern for any business owner that's out there.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
so a lot of times they'll see SharePoint as, for lack of a better way to put it, a low-cost alternative, possibly, at least getting into it.
Right, and that's how Microsoft has positioned it. Like I said, they were bundling it for free, and they're not anymore. So now there's a perception out there about the cost of SharePoint.
So with it being a low-cost alternative, I think that people feel that they can get into it at a low price point, and then when they start actually looking at all the different things that they intended it to do for their business, I would assume then with that comes additional costs or additional development that needs to be done. And obviously it can't just be done by just any individual who doesn't have any programming background whatsoever. Short-term versus long-term return on investment. Do you find that doing a custom developed application is going to be more costly, less costly, pretty much dead even? By the time you're finished building out SharePoint to the point that you wanted as a business owner, would you be better off just having something developed specific to your business? Give us some insight as to what your preferences and ideas or thoughts are around that.
Sure. Again, it's your strategy behind what you're actually trying to do that you need to take a step back and really determine before you choose the environment that you're going to work in. The software itself is a means to an end, and you really need to define the business requirements first. So if you're a company and you're looking to develop a solution that you want to sell to other customers, it makes sense to have more ownership over the entire stack of that solution. If you're going to be selling that solution as a value add to your company. SharePoint, while it can provide that functionality, you're locked into SharePoint. You can't, if you have customer requests to change your software, they're not necessarily going to, you may not be able to do them in SharePoint. Whereas if you have control of the entire stack, every module's code is available to you to modify to your means, to your will. you're going to have a lot more flexibility. You're going to be able to respond to your customers a lot more in a greater capacity, essentially.
Okay. So when there is that need that you need to put in place a process and it falls outside of what we'll call it a rigid nature, if you will, of SharePoint, doing a custom developed application is going to offer you, again, a lot more flexibility and, and allow you to shift on a dime, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely.
To be able to accommodate whatever your customer needs might be.
Yes, so. It'll get you to the web. You'll get there. With SharePoint, you'll get to a certain point, but SharePoint essentially will, I mean, you'll hit some walls.
So one last question I would have for you then, if somebody is evaluating this process, what should they do, again, as a business owner in order to do so? I mean, pulling in a number of organizations, or should they start really at the core level, what do we want to accomplish with this, and then build it out from there, and then bring those organizations in? I mean, what would your recommendation be on that?
I would say that you do not want to start by picking your technology first. That should be a step that's further down in the process. I think what you need to do is you need to understand the process from a fundamental standpoint first. You need to understand what you're trying to achieve. You need to understand all the outside entities that are enacting on that. Understand the process just from a pure process standpoint.
Business process.
Right.
How exactly does this work right now?
Right.
Okay.
Then you can decide, I think you need to find a company that can provide you an honest answer. They're not trying to have an agenda.
Push you a certain direction.
Right. They're agnostic.
Got it. Well, Marc, I do appreciate the time. Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I know that it's something that I've talked to a number of my clients about, so I really do appreciate you bringing us up to speed on the differences between the two that are out there. So, and I appreciate your time as well, and thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time on TNTV.